But we about to talk Canelo Alvarez. Where's he at? Tail of the tape. We 1 month out from the fight with Canelo and Crawford. I'm about to make my official prediction. I'm about to let you know exactly what's going to happen in this fight so we could all come back and say, I told you so, right? Now, one thing I do know for certain, this fight is going to be a good old-fashioned ass whooping. We know that they're both coming game, both bringing their A game. I'm just gonna be out with it. All right. We know there's a lot of Canelo fans in here, a lot of Bud fans in here. Canelo is not winning the fight. Canelo Alvarez is not beating Bud Crawford. All right. I'm gonna break it down for y'all. I ain't gonna be on here too long. I'm gonna just drop a little "I told you so" on him. Canelo's an amazing fighter. Bud's an amazing fighter. I think Canelo has his advantages of being more acclimated at the weight. I think Bud has essentially every other advantage, and it will become apparent on fight night. In my opinion, people don't know how strong Bud Crawford is. And I think him having a full year to get ready for this fight at this weight, and him also being a naturally strong wrestler, is going to make a big difference in this fight because he's going to be able to upset Canelo with his jab. Bud has one of the best jabs in the sport. He has one of the best IQs in the sport, so he knows when to use the jab. The reason why Bud's going to win the fight is because Bud knows when to move and when to fight. Canelo only knows essentially to walk forward and try to wait to catch you with a big shot. That's how he fought Bivol. That's how he fought Plant. That's how he fought basically everyone in his last few fights. William Skull just showed you could run around Canelo, he can't catch you. Lara showed you could run around Canelo, he can't catch you. Floyd Mayweather showed you could run around Canelo, he can't catch you. So if Bud knows when to move and when to fight, which he does probably better than anybody else in the sport, if you look at how he fought Errol Spence, he knew when to move and when to counter, when to fight. When you look at all those elements, it's very clear that Bud Crawford has a great advantage in this fight. I think that essentially Canelo has a puncher's chance, and this is how I think the fight is going to play out. The first 2 rounds, it's going to be a feeling out process, but Bud is going to be quicker. That's essentially going to be the main difference. Bud's going to get Canelo's timing in those first 2 rounds. So those first 2 rounds are kind of a toss-up, to be honest with you. The fight can actually go a couple different ways. A few different ways. Yeah, anything can happen. But the first 2 rounds, I see Bud taking it off of being quicker. And his mindset, as he already explained in the pre-fight interviews, is he's already down. Bud's already down on the judges' scorecards because the fans are going for Canelo. The judges are going for Canelo. Canelo's a cash cow. So Bud has a disadvantage at the very beginning of the fight. That's already in a disadvantage because Canelo is used to having the judges go in his favor. This may be the very first time that doesn't happen. We actually see a fair fight, and that this might be a second time, another time why Canelo loses. Canelo was lost huge against Bivol, but on the cards, he barely lost because they were trying to rig it for Canelo, and they failed. They couldn't cheat Bivol. Bivol won like 10 rounds, and on the cards, he won, 7 rounds, just barely, Um, but in the actual fight, he won basically every single round, maybe given one round. Um, and so I think Bud's going to have a mentality where he has to win every single round convincingly. And I think he's going to try to do that. And I think he has the speed, just enough power and IQ to do that against Canelo. And I do think that Canelo can get stopped by Bud because he relies too much on his chin. He's okay with being against the ropes and taking combinations. That's not a good habit. Now, Bivol caught him on the ropes and was throwing combos. He didn't really go for the kill, but he put Canelo in a position where he couldn't essentially do anything except be hit. And if Bud puts Canelo there, Bud's not going to let him, get out of that position without trying to close the show. Bud has the killer instinct after a certain point, which we've seen in basically every single one of his fights leading up until he fought Madrimov. The only fight he did not close the show in, 20 fights in a row or however many fights. So with Canelo, the first 2 rounds I see, honestly, it could be swing rounds. Just depends on how much time it takes for Bud to figure out Canelo, get his timing, and how active Canelo is. Canelo has to be really active. If Canelo stays active those first 2 rounds, he could actually steal those first 2 rounds and give himself a nice cushion into the rest of the fight. So the first 2 rounds I see going to Bud, strictly off speed and activity, but really it's a toss-up. Rounds 3 and 4, I think Canelo is going to be down. I see Bud winning the first 2. Round 3 and 4 is where Canelo realizes he has to do something differently and starts to basically throw in the kitchen sink, trying to hurt Bud, which he needs to do if he wants to win. If Bud does not get hurt in the 3rd or 4th round, maybe the 5th round, when Canelo's essentially going all out before he gets tired, which he usually gets tired in the later rounds and is less active, more slow. If Bud is more slow during that, if Canelo is more slow, and let me regather my thoughts. Sorry about that. If Canelo starts slow, and Bud is able to take the first couple rounds 3, 4, and 5, Canelo is going to be doing everything he can to get Bud out of there. Okay, he's not going to want to go the later rounds with Bud, who is going to be the fresher fighter. He's going to be the quicker fighter, and he's going to be starting to get his timing down. Come round 6, 7, Bud's going to want to switch to southpaw. If he's not already in southpaw, he's going to want to start to implement the attacks on the openings he sees on Canelo in those first 3, 4 rounds when Canelo is still more fresh, still more dangerous. Canelo, his best chance is round 3 to about 6. To sit, those rounds might be Canelo rounds. He might be throwing a lot. If he catches Bud, he might have Bud on his bike a little bit until he gets a little bit more tired. But I don't see Bud running from Canelo. I see him using his footwork to move around him strategically, create angles, and essentially outpoint Canelo. So Canelo really has to be working busy and has to really land something big on Bud to have any chance. Outside of round 3 through 6, I see it being 100% Bud's fight. In the early rounds, I see Bud taking it. I see the rounds 3 to 6 being a toss-up between the two, depending on how bad Canelo wants it. And if he can land a good shot, maybe he can clip him. If he doesn't, we know Canelo does have power in the later rounds, but I see him slowing down a lot, and that's when I see Bud starting to turn on. I think Bud's gonna try to make a statement and finish the show just like he did it with Errol Spence, round 7 through 9. I don't believe the round. I don't believe this fight's going to the later rounds, to the championship rounds. If it does, I think Bud's gonna be too far ahead for Canelo to catch up, and might be a little bit desperate at that time. But that's not gonna be good for Canelo because him being desperate and leaving himself more exposed, Bud is gonna take advantage of more and more of those opportunities. So yeah, essentially I see Bud knocking out Canelo in the first. Yeah, let me actually just change to just chatting. I don't need to be on the music shit. Hold up. We're live on Twitch right now. But yeah, I see Bud stopping Canelo round 7 through 9, around there. I see him starting to hurt him a little bit more, and I know people saying Canelo's not going to be stopped. I don't think anyone's come at Canelo with the will to win, with the aggressiveness, with the timing and speed of Bud. I don't see it. I think Bud can get a stoppage if he lands the right shots, because Bud does not land to hit you. He really hits you trying to shut off the lights, especially when he gets in a certain mode. He wants to see how much you can take. And I don't know. I think Canelo's gonna. His chin and his ego is not gonna let him go down without a fight. But the ref's gonna stop the fight once he starts getting hit too much. That's my personal opinion. I think he's gonna start getting hit too much. He's gonna do his thing where he's against the ropes, just getting hit. But it's gonna go to the body too. He's gonna be hitting them, and I think it's gonna get to a point where the ref stops the fight. It's hard to picture Canelo getting like knocked down, right? But look, only one guy survived Bud, and obviously it's weight classes and everything. But Bud is gonna be bigger. He's gonna be stronger. If none of my other predictions are true, Bud's gonna be stronger on the night. Canelo might be way more, but Bud's gonna be taller, longer, stronger fighter. Do you want to weigh more than somebody, or do you want to be stronger, taller, and longer than them and quicker? Which one would you choose? So man, it's really the type of thing where if Bud is an underdog, I think he is right now. I don't know what the betting odds are, but if Bud is an underdog, y'all need to bet. Y'all need to bet the house on Bud. Canelo is a favorite. Bud's a plus 155. I gotta find out how to bet in the great state of California. How do I bet on the? Let me ask Grok right quick. Y'all bet the house on Bud, man. So that's my prediction, man. I honestly see Bud either winning by decision or by about late stoppage. Let's say round 8, round 9. It could even be sooner than that. I honestly, maybe 7. I think once Canelo gets tired, Bud is gonna start to turn up the intensity on him, and I don't see Canelo being able to switch gears once he starts getting tired into the gears he's gonna need to shift into to remain in a defensive in a good defensive posture. Like Canelo's too flat-footed. He's not as nimble. He's not as quick as he was at the lower weight classes, and even then he got pieced up by Mayweather. Who was a great fighter, but Mayweather essentially was just quick and had good defense. He wasn't doing anything too unbelievable besides just his how hard he is to hit. And Bud is probably easier to hit, but he has a lot more coming back at you when you do hit him. When you do swing at him, you got 2, 3 punches coming back at you. And later in the fight, those punches tend to put people down. Yes, smaller fighters, but Bud has never fought anyone at 160. He's never fought this big. So, and people say Mandramov. Mandramov is a mover. He's a feiner. He's in and out 1,000 times in 2 minutes. Canelo's not like that. He's slow, plodding, moving forward the entire time. He's very predictable. You know where he's gonna be. He's not too hard to hit. He's hard to get off of you, because of his strength. But I don't see him walking down Bud, knowing how good of a jab Bud has upstairs and downstairs. I just don't see it working. So that's why we're gonna watch the fight. I'm really excited. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Who you got? Am I completely off? What am I wrong about? And last I'm gonna say is, I don't know why people keep talking about Bud Crawford in terms of him potentially like taking illegal substances, because we know Canelo has been tested positive for banned substances. Bud had never has, so I don't understand the logic. You got a bigger guy who's not giving out his testing, and you got a younger guy. I'm sorry, a smaller guy, older guy, who is forthcoming in his testing. So it's pretty obvious who's suspect and who's not in that regard. But I don't think it's gonna really make a difference. I think Canelo could take substance enhancing stuff and still not beat Bud. To be honest with you, I think he would have a better chance of knocking him out, but his style is not one that's going to beat the quicker, more elusive, craftier fighter, unless he catches him with a big shot like he did Caleb Plant. So I just think Bud's too good to get caught in that way, and even if he is, I don't see the show ending in that way. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Y'all like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.